I think a lot of people are confused. How are we reading the same Bible, talking about the same Jesus, and coming out with completely opposite views of Christ, justice, and power? From an objective psychological standpoint, I think there are two things happening at once. First, the Bible itself holds real tension. The portrayal of God across the text is not super consistent. There is a God of authority, punishment, and power, and there's a God of compassion, liberation, mercy. Both exist in the same book. That alone creates radically different interpretations. But second, there is psychology. We are not reading scripture in a vacuum. We read it through our nervous systems, through our childhoods, through how we learned love, through how authority treated us, through what felt safe, familiar, or necessary to survive. So it's not just interpretation. I think it's interpretation plus projection. We don't just ask, what does the Bible say? We unconsciously ask, which version of God feels familiar to me? For some people, an authoritarian God feels safe. For some, a punitive God feels structured. For some, a powerful God feels stabilizing, even if that version of God is harmful, controlling, or violent. And that doesn't necessarily mean that these people are evil. It means that at some point, that version of God probably served a psychological purpose for them. It might have provided order. It might have offered them certainty. It might have helped them feel protected. But if I've learned one thing in therapy, what once kept you safe isn't always what helps you grow. So when we see people aligning their faith with violence, oppression, and power structures, I don't think that comes out of nowhere. I think it comes from the intersection of a complicated text and an unexamined inner world. And this is why I think these conversations are so hard with friends and family that you love so dearly, because no theological argument can compete with a nervous system that hasn't done its own healing. That's also why often arguing theology goes absolutely nowhere, but talking psychology goes deeper. Now we're asking, why is that the God you need? What does that God protect you from? What does that God give you that you're afraid to lose? And that's where real spirituality lives. Not in the defense of a doctrine, but in being honest about why we're drawn to certain images of the divine in the first place. So the goal of this video and my platform in general isn't to argue harder, it's to understand deeper. Because the future of spirituality, and honestly the future of Christianity or even humanity, will not change through better debates. It will change when people are willing to do their inner work. That's what actually shifts theology. That's what actually transforms belief. And that's why I think psychology belongs in these conversations just as much as scripture does.